وأصحابه أجمعين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. By the time, indeed, mankind is at loss, except for those who have faith, those who do good deeds, enjoying in truth and enjoying in patience. And for most of us, this surah is something we've all memorized. Most of us, if not, you've heard the surah. It's one of the shorter surahs in the Quran, probably one of the ones that we use when we're short on time or for salah. Ironically, the surah that you may use to shorten your time is actually one that warns us about wasting time. And actually within the surah, it's a good summary of the contents and the themes and the lessons we can learn within the Quran. So the surah starts with wal asr, meaning by the time, or I swear by time. And when Allah swears by something, it's not just like He's mad. Like when we swear, it's like I swear I'm going to punch you. You get mad. Allah doesn't do that because He's not mad at us. And He's not swearing because it's something so divine, because Allah is greater than that. Instead, He's swearing by time because time is going to be a witness for what He says next. So on the Day of Judgment, time will be a witness for what He says next. And what He says next is إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Indeed, mankind is at loss. And when we talk about the Quran, when we translate into English, sometimes the true meaning of the Arabic words don't translate properly. But when we talk about, when we say إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, insan is an individual. Nas, the other word of people, would be a nation. He's not saying, indeed, nations are at loss. He's saying, indeed, individual, you or I, are at loss. So in this ayah, He specifically wants us to think about ourselves and reflect upon what we're doing. And then He says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. And khusr means loss. But in the Quran, there's three types of loss that are mentioned. The first one is a very encompassing, the worst kind of loss. The worst kind of loss is one type. The second type of loss is one that continues to get worse, it accumulates. And the third one is a loss that can be overcome. And that's the kind of loss that Allah mentions in this ayah, in an insan lafi khusr. Indeed, mankind, or you and I, are at loss, but this loss can be overcome. This loss doesn't have to be a loss. And He tells us how to avoid that. And the next one, which is one of the ayahs I want to focus on, is إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ and وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. He gives us 4 different points or 4 different components that we have to internalize if we want to make sure that we're not at loss. The first one, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, is those who have faith. Second is إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who do good deeds. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, those who counsel in truth, haqq, truth. And تَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, those who enjoin counsel in patience. And of these 4, you'll notice that 2 of these are about the self, or about me and my faith, or you and your faith, and the good deeds that I do, and that is just between me and Allah, or you and Allah. But then the second 2 involve a second or third party. Counsel others to truth, or counsel others in patience. You can't do that by yourself. You can't advise yourself. And from that ayah, we can make a couple conclusions already. Is that for someone to be a true, or to be a believer that isn't at loss, you can't go and isolate yourself from the rest of the community. We have to be a part of the community. You can't say that there's too much fitna in this community. I don't agree with this message is doing. Some of these people, the way they dress, the way they talk, I don't want to be a part of that. I'm going to go sit in my room, read my Quran, pray salah, do dhikr, and that should be fine. Because in this very ayah, the same ayah we probably are reading on a daily basis or even weekly basis, tells us we have to be a part of the community. You can't advise yourself. You can remind yourself, but that's not advising. You have to advise someone else, but someone else has to advise you. So the first thing is that you can't be isolated from the community. And the second thing that we should get from this is that if we agree that the Quran is divine text. So everything in it is truth, and everything in it we have to believe, we have to follow. And if we let's see this ayah in إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَأَخْلَصُوا بِالْحَقِّ وَأَتَوَّا بِالصَّبْرِ, and we accept that, then we should now be feeling a responsibility to ourselves and our communities that we are out there and we're counseling or we're advising or taking in advice and interacting with the rest of our community. Because if you're not doing that, then you're becoming immune to falsehood. If something was to pop up in your community and you didn't say anything, that means you're immune to falsehood. There was a story of a man, this is reported by Ibn al-Qayyim. There was a man in a town. He was a very pious man. So he read his Quran, he prayed 5 times on time, he went to the masjid, did lots of dhikr, and he was considered a very, very pious man inside a town. And the rest of the town was very sinful. So the rest of the town, there were sins happening left and right. It was probably a town you would not want to be in, basically. But he held strong to his faith, and he kept remembrance of Allah. But Allah had ordered the angels to go and destroy that town. And when the angels went down to destroy it, they saw this person in the masjid, they saw this guy who continuously was praising Allah and remembering Allah. And he went to Allah and said, "Oh Allah, you asked us to destroy this town, but there's this man who hasn't done you any wrong. He remembers you, he prays, he reads. What do we do about him?" And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Go and destroy the town and start with him. Start with him because he had knowledge and he had the piety, but he never did anything about it. He saw the fitna happening around his neighborhood and his city, but he never went and frowned upon it. He never went to tell his neighbors not to do it. He just kept to himself." If we think about that story, it's actually very, very, very scary to think about. That someone who thought his relationship with Allah was very personal, he wanted to be by himself, but instead he was going to be the first person of this city that's filled with fitna and sins to be destroyed, merely because he was not able to go out and talk to other people and advise them and give them truth and have patience with them. The Prophet ﷺ said, a hadith reported by Tirmidhi, "Ad-deen al-nasiha." Nasiha is advice, sincere advice. So the deen is sincere advice. He basically summarized the entirety of his deen as giving advice, and it's sincere advice at that. And if we look at the state of the ummah, we want to make sure that every one of our brothers and sisters are succeeding, right? We want to see each other in Jannah. Advice is something that I especially know that I myself need it. I know that I'm not perfect. I have a lot of flaws. There are things that people can advise me on. I can learn new things. And just as I know that I need that, I know that everybody else needs it as well. There's nobody here that is perfect. And there will never be anybody who is perfect from now. And these are flaws that we have to accept, and we have to be willing to accept that we can take criticism and we can give criticism. Now, how do we do that? He says in the second half of the ayah, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. As I mentioned, every wording in the Quran has a certain value to it, right? So tawasaw comes from a word, the root word wasiyah. And like in English, you have root words that come from Greek and Latin, and they make new vocabulary words and all that, right? So in Arabic, it comes from wasiyah meaning to give advice that is heartfelt, emotional, genuine advice. And then if you take these root words and these root letters and you add like certain letters to the end or tashkil, and you modify it, basically put it through like a formula, you get a certain characteristic trait that you can add to that word. So wasiyah turns into tawasaw, and tawasaw adds a characteristic trait of mutualism. So not only do you give advice that is heartfelt, but it's a mutual, so it's a relationship between you and the person receiving it. And what does that mean? That as soon as you give advice, you should immediately be ready to take it. Because if you don't, then subconsciously you think you're better than that person. If you give someone advice and you're not ready to hear something back from them to advise you as well, then in the back of your head or even the front of your head, you're thinking that I am better than him, that's why I'm advising him and he should not talk to me. And that's something we have to avoid. And that's why he uses tawasaw bil-haqq and tawasaw bis-sabr. And even after that, when he uses tawasaw, he said tawasaw bil-haqq, and bil-haqq is truth, right? But tawasaw bil-haqq also means to give advice truthfully, give it sincerely, give it genuinely. And if we really do care about the people, our friends, our family, we wouldn't want them to be hidden from the truth, right? You want to tell them the truth. You want them to see them in Jannah with you. You want to see them succeed in this life. You don't want them to be lost. You don't want them to be in an insana lafi khusr. An analogy I heard once was that if there was a burning house in your family, let's say this is the house that you lived in and your family was in there, the first thing you would want to do is make sure everyone's safe, right? Your mother, your father, brother, sister, grandparents, grandchildren, you want them to be safe. And you will do what you can to keep them safe from the burning fire. But why is it that we don't have the mentality when it comes to Islam in protecting our brothers and sisters from the fire of the afterlife? We can do it for our own homes. Why don't we want to do that for Jannah? Why don't we want to protect our brothers and sisters? Are we so scared to talk to another person and give them something that's fear of criticism that we won't even say anything? And Allah actually addresses that in the next one. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ is sincere advice. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ is to give it with patience. And not just patience, is perseverance. So you don't just give up on that person. So he's not saying that you tell someone advice and then you leave it alone. I told my friend that I don't think he should be drinking or something, and then it goes again. I was like, all right, whatever, I did my job. It's not tawasaw bis-sabr. You see a masjid or community is not doing something you think is right, and you're like, hey, it's not good, and they're like, okay, it's fine, and then you go away and like, okay, I did my job. That's not tawasaw bis-sabr. You may still be genuine, but if you really did care, you wouldn't walk away. You'd be sad that they're not listening, or they're not, maybe you said it the wrong way. Most of the time when we even give advice, we say it in the wrong manner. We don't even say it the right way. We'll say something, it'll come off as demeaning, it'll come off condescending, and that's why we get a retort. But most of the time when we give advice, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get feedback. And 9 times out of 10, that feedback's not going to be nice feedback. They're going to say something like, hey, who are you to tell me? My relationship with Allah is personal. Why you got to worry about it? Worry about yourself. You have flaws too, right? That's what we hear. And it's true, we do all have flaws. But we also have to help each other correct that. This is not an individual religion. That's why we have an ummah. And the ummah was developed and it grew so large is because the Prophet ﷺ had advised his Sahaba, and the Sahaba had advised the rest of the communities, and they grew because of that. And that's something that we tend to shy away from. And when you look at the Quran, haqq and sabr tend to come back to back a lot. When it says to enjoin in truth, a lot of times it says to have patience right after that. Why? Because you need patience. You have to enjoin patience. If I tell you something, like I said, you're going to get feedback, doesn't mean you get angry. Doesn't mean you just give up. Maybe find a different way to do it. Maybe find a different way to say it. Or come back when the time is better. And the thing to know about Surah Asr, I want to go into a story that kind of helps practicalize this surah. But before that, when you look at Surah Asr, it started with وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ, right? So إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ, I said that insan was individual and this was a person. But he ends it with إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Amanu is a plural. Amana would have been singular. He starts singular and it's plural. Because individually, each and every single one of us would have been at loss except if we had come together and we had joined in truth and joined in patience and had faith and had good deeds. So if we really want to succeed as an ummah, especially in a society where it's so hard and there's such an emphasis on individuality and how religion is shamed upon and Islam is being attacked left and right, you got to have that unity. If you don't have that unity, we're going to fail. And like the Prophet ﷺ is a deen al-nasiha, we have to continue to give advice. And the story I wanted to use to practicalize this was the story of Luqman. There's a lot of stories in the Quran, but I wanted to focus on Surah Luqman and the conversation he had. So before I go into it, you need to know there needs to be some background. Luqman, first of all, was not even a prophet. By most scholars, he wasn't even a prophet. So now, first of all, we have a story about a non-prophet within the Quran that we have to take advice from. And second, this story is just a conversation between a father and a son. That's it. Just a conversation. And we think about the Quran, essentially this is the last bit of communication Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided to have with us. After this, there's no more. There was no more. There's no more messenger. There's no messenger going to come. There's no more books going to come. Whatever was in this book has to be timeless. Everything in this book has to encompass everything that we do. And if you think about it, the Quran's not even that long. You have encyclopedia editions after editions about like Intro to Bio 101. That's thousands of pages in such small script, but you have a 114 surah book that encompasses our entire lives and everything that we should be doing, everything we should encompass. If you think about that, that means that everything in this book has to be important. Everything has to have value. There's no wastage in this Quran. If you wasted it, why would it be divine? So if we understand that, and then we look at the story of Luqman, And we understand the father-son conversation. There's so many father-son conversations that happen on a daily basis, year after year, going back to whenever the first father and son were. There's so many, but he chose this one because it had a specific type of value to it. And that's something we can learn. And the two things I want to point is that one, since he's not a prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that you don't have to be a prophet or a super Imam Sheikh of America to give advice. The average person can go and counsel. You don't have to be a prophet. And the second thing is that he chose a father-son conversation. If you think about the type of advice you can give it to your family, your friends, classmate, and a stranger, right? And the hardest one of those is going to be to your family members. It's very hard most of the time to advise your family on something because they know you so well, they know your shortcomings, and they might get angered by it. And if they do get angered by it, you still have to live with them for that time being until you can cool down. If you ever think about a time you tried to advise a brother or sister, or a father to a son, or to a daughter, a mother to a son or a daughter, it's a little bit hard and a little bit awkward, especially for us in society today. If you can do it without any problems, alhamdulillah, that's a great relationship to have. But more times than not, it's not going to be easy. So you picked one of the hardest types of conversations to have to exemplify the type of advice that we can give. And in Surah Luqman, the conversation starts with قَالَ لُقْمَانَ لِبَنِيهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. Which means, and called to mind when Luqman said to his son while exhorting him, O my beloved son, do not associate others with Allah and His divinity. Surely associating others with Allah and His divinity is a mighty wrong. And the content of the conversation is important, but I want to focus on how and why he gave the advice, because that's more practical. The first thing to know is this conversation between father and son, it's a private conversation. It's not a conversation to an entire group of people. It's not a conversation he's calling out his son in front of a group of people. It's one-on-one, it's private. And what is that? What's the difference between a private conversation and one in public is that if I was to give advice to someone in a public setting, he's probably going to feel shamed. Probably going to feel demeaned, think I'm being condescending, I think I'm better than him, why did I got to make fun of him or insult him or shame him in front of all his friends and family? They're not going to listen to you. They may hear it, they're not going to listen to you. Because at that moment they're thinking, he's shaming me in front of all my friends and family. What about him? He has this flaw, I better call him out on that too. But if you do it in private, the only reason you ever do a private conversation is if you really cared about someone. It's one-on-one. The only person there is you, that person, Allah is watching. That's it. So that keeps the first thing from the story is right away, the setting that we take and give our advice has to be informed. We have to choose the right place, we have to choose the right time. And how do we do it? Because that will keep us level. Remember, tawasul bil haqq, we want it to be mutual. We don't want to be arrogant. We don't want to put ourselves on a pedestal. It's not real advice then. It's not sincere. It's not haqq. That's arrogance. That's not something we want. And the second thing to know is that Allah uses the word yu'idahu, which is to give loving advice. And how does Luqman do it? Is he starts it with Ya Bunayya. And Ya Bunayya just means, oh my beloved son. And then he gets into his advice. So he transitions into advice by showing love and affection and compassion to his son first. So that his son feels that this is genuine. This is something that my father wants to tell me because he cares, not because he's mad at me, not because he's scolding me. He wants me to really know this so that I can improve myself. And this is something that's very easy to implement, not just father-son relationship. It could be any relationship with your friends, your classmates, whoever it may be. No, brother, I loved your recitation, but I noticed you said one of the words, you keep saying this letter the wrong way, and that kind of changes the meaning. I don't want your salat to be invalidated. Maybe you should take note of that. That wasn't that hard, was it? As long as you show that person you genuinely want to give them that advice, it makes it so much easier for them to take it in. And then you can get on that level playing field. You have that humility. Islam is a religion of humility. That's the first thing to know from that conversation. And then later on as you go, he says, Ya bunayya aqima as-salata wamru bil ma'rufi wanha 'anil munkar wasbir 'ala ma asabak. O my son, establish prayer, enjoin what is right, forbid what is wrong, and be patient over what has befallen you. Again, we see tawasul bil haqq wa tawasul bis sabr, truth followed by being patient. Enjoin and good, forbid what is wrong, and be patient about it. And again, you see that he starts with Ya Bunayya. Every time he's giving advice, he's ensuring his son that he really is saying this genuinely, he cares for it. It's something we have to keep in mind every time we talk to somebody, every time we want to say something to a friend or a family. You've got to remember that. And the thing about the one point I wanted to mention from this ayah that uses Amr bil Ma'ruf. Amr sometimes can mean command, but also can mean to suggest or to recommend or to advise, depending on the context. And if you take it from this context, that means that depending on the setting and who you're talking to, you will talk to them differently. You're not going to talk to your family the same way you're going to talk to your friends. You're not going to talk to your friends the same way you talk to a classmate or to a stranger. Everybody you talk to differently. You know them on a different level. And that way you're going to advise everyone on a different level. The way you talk to you advise a friend wouldn't be the same way you talk to your family. Definitely not. You have to know when to be more aggressive with it, when to be more subtle with it, when to be more recommendation based, and when to, if you have to command. And a lot of times we think that when we're giving advice, we're doing Amr bil Ma'ruf. I gave him advice. I'm doing what the Wasl bil Haq. It was so sincere, like it's crazy. Sincerity levels are off the chart. But then the second they say that, why are you talking to me? You can't judge me. Listen to yourself. We get so angry. We get so angry. And then we turn away and we're like, that's not my fault. I did my job. I talked to him. Again, that's not what the Wasl bil Sab. That's not even what the Wasl bil Haq. You're not sincere about it. Again, you wouldn't be mad if a person didn't listen to you. But that's a pride thing. Then you're saying, why doesn't he value me? Rather than why doesn't he value the Quran or the teachings or the lessons? Then you'd be sad because you really want him to get it there or want her to get there. That's what the Wasl bil Haq. That's what the Wasl bil Sab. When he's using Amr, that means that every time we talk to someone, we have to be able to find a way to make it more personal, to make it so that they care, or they know that we care, and you can't just pick a person on the street and point them out like, I remember that one time you did this. That's not how it works. That's something we really need to think about. And it's a problem with our society sometimes that we want to really help, we just don't know how to do it the right way. Sometimes it really is genuine, sometimes it's about pride. We have to make sure our intentions are clear for that one. أقول قولي هذا واستغفره الله لي ولكم ولسائر المرسلين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Just to conclude this topic, I just want to go over and review the things that we covered. Was that we start with Surah Asr and we noticed that the way that Allah's worded things, the way He structured things is that we can't be a nation where everybody is individual. We can't be a nation where everyone does his own thing because that's not how it's going to work. That's not really going to bring us success. That's actually going to put everybody individually at loss. We don't want to be إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. We want to be part of the people that's إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. The first thing to notice is that we have to be a community that works together and is united. A community that works together is able to take care of each other and grow together. Because that's the type of deen, the deen and nasiha, that we can grow and succeed and become enter Jannah inshallah together. That was the first thing we did when we did Surah Asr. And we went to the story of Luqman. And again, advices can be given by anybody, really. But the thing to be careful for is that you don't give too much advice in the sense that you're not even doing it yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hadith by Tirmidhi says that Prophet ﷺ said that for whoever pursues the shortcomings of people, Allah will pursue theirs. So we're not supposed to go and look specifically. I'm not going to sit in the corner of the masjid and point out every person whose sujood was too fast for him to say the words he was supposed to, or someone who maybe who's reciting the wrong way, and look for things to point out. That's not what we're supposed to do. That's going to instill hatred, and that's actually going to feed your ego and feed your arrogance and make you think you're better than someone else. And again, that's not what we want to do. With tawasaw, mutualism, we want to be in the same level. So you don't look for it, but if you see it, if you really truly think this is something that's hindering the barakah he's going to get from Allah, or that's keeping him away from Allah, then you pull him aside and you tell him. And you be careful with how you talk, and you be respectful in how you say it, and you make him feel like you actually genuinely want to help him. Because a lot of times when you get talked to, your immediate reaction is, I'm not flawed. Why is he telling me this? I don't have to listen to him. Because we want to feel like we are perfect in the sense that we don't have these mistakes. And if for someone to say that's to say that we've done something wrong, you don't want to think that. But if we come to understand that some people actually want to genuinely help us, and that this woman really needs to be connected, it's much easier for you to take in something. Like, brother, oh, thank you. Sister, thank you for that. I'll keep that in mind. And I want to end with one ayah. It says in Surah Tawbah, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءَ بَعْضٍ. And that just means the believers, both men and women, are allies of one another. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the believers help each other, they advise each other, they're there for each other. And that's the type of community that we really need to build, especially in this time where everybody becomes so individual. They try to say something to someone and they try to put you off right away. And it's hard. Truth is hard sometimes. That's why it needs and requires patience. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps our intentions clean, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to be sincere while advising our brothers and sisters, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to remain humble when we give advice. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to embody the teachings and the lessons of the Quran, and we have a genuine understanding of the Quran and want to learn more about it. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings us closer to Him, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps us on the straight path, protect us from the hellfire, and bring us to Jannah. And I pray that Allah forgive us of our shortcomings, and that He forgive us for ever not being grateful or remembering Him. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Straighten the lines shoulder to shoulder. Pray as if this may be your last prayer. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله